Welcome, everybody. My name is Jenny Peck. I am from the fundraising team here at Amref USA. And I'm really glad each and every one of you guys came. This is a supporter call. It's meant to be interactive, so we love it when you guys unmute yourselves and ask questions. Today we have the people from the US attending and people from the UK attending, and we're all just very grateful that you're here. In this next hour, we're going to be talking with our team from Ethiopia. Maybe they want to wave to us so we all know which box they're in. There's Team Ethiopia. They're going to talk to us today about a really exciting new project called Kefeta. It's a youth empowerment project. They'll spend about 40 minutes talking about this project, the impact, and how you can get involved. And then we're going to open up the conversation at the end for you to ask questions of them. If you want, you're also welcome to pop a question in the chat, but we would love if you unmuted at the end and asked your question directly. So just a few of these housekeeping items before we get started. Questions we'll do at the end or put in the chat. We will monitor these questions and respond to them at the end. If you are not speaking, just please make sure that you are on mute so we can hear the speakers. So for today, our moderator is our wonderful Amref USA's CEO, Bob Kelty. Bob, I'm passing it over to you.
Thanks, Jenny. Welcome everyone from the US and the UK, and I think maybe a couple more people from Ethiopia I see on here. Really excited to have everyone here. Kefeta is one of my passion projects. I love talking about it, but I also love even more listening to the team from Kefeta. So I think everyone's going to really enjoy the conversation and learn a lot of things. I think for me, what makes Kefeta so special is I think a lot of times, whether it's in the US, the UK, Africa, we see projects that are just kind of siloed, and it's a family planning project, it's an economic empowerment project. What Kefeta does is really listens to the community and what they need. And communities don't work in silos, they work across. And Kefeta integrates all the different things that are really important to young people. So the project wasn't designed in the United States or the UK, or even at leadership in Ethiopia. It was designed by the community, by young people. And that's so important. And I think it's one of the reasons, I think a lot of people say, well, why did Amref win this award? Why is Amref leading this project? And I think why we did is because we really listened to the young people, and they were part of the presentation, they were developing, and it was really obvious to USAID, who's funding this program, that they were the leaders, and which makes it so special. And the integration is really important. It's not something that Amref typically does, or the economic empowerment, it's not something we do, but what we're really good is bringing partners together and really managing them. So that in between of bringing the community together, they trust us because we're an African NGO. Also, the government of Ethiopia trusts us. To do a project like this, Ethiopia gave away a lot of their assets for us to manage, the youth centers, which we'll be talking about later. Putting together an economic and banking system for young people takes a lot of work and takes trust. And I think that is really, one of the things I always talk about when I talk about Amref, when Kefeta examples that. Also, so much of the money is going to local organizations. It's not going to a big international organization. It's going to youth organization. It's going to organizations that are working the field. So we're really here to, one, support the program. And, USAID has built this infrastructure for us, but as you create a project, you learn more things, there's more opportunities. So we're really looking long-term, how do we fill gaps? How do we make this project more robust? And I'm going to stop talking, and I'm going to introduce our three great panelists. I will start with Chalachew, who is Chief of Party of USAID Kefeta program. What that means, he's in charge of managing this, and he brings over 17 years of experience managing large projects for governments, for USAIDs, and he has a kind of a unique position here. His job is thinking of how he gets out of this job, and it's really building training and teaching young people how to run projects, how to be a leader. So he has the responsibility of not only managing the project, but also thinking, how do we make this sustainable? How do we build the capacity of young people? Rahel, who runs our economic empowerment, is in red with her red glasses matching, is in charge of the economic empowerment activities. She has an incredible background, really diverse, 27 years of experience in the financial world, worked on Wall Street, worked for the Gates Foundation. So it really brings the kind of really different work for NGOs, kind of the perspective of a lot of different areas to the GRAIM. So we're really excited about her being part of this team. The project has really been only running for about 14 months. And so there's been a lot the team has had to do. Tsion is the youth advisor for the program, comes from really born in Canada, has a lot of data experience, is kind of really works on the partnerships, which is critical because so much money goes to our local partners, manages the sexual reproductive rights aspect of it. So that is our incredible team. And now I'll ask a few questions and we'll, hear some brilliant answers. So Chale, I will start with you since you can give the big picture overview, why it's important, how we're working with our partners, why this is, I kind of touched upon it, but I think it's such a critical part of this project is the relationships we have with all the different, stakeholders.
Thank you so very much, Bob, and thank you everyone for giving us your time, your attention. We are very much humbled to have you this time. And good morning to you all. I think, Bob, you have put it nicely, and I really like your summary that Kefeta is unique in a sense that it's co-created by the communities themselves, especially young people are the ones who designed the project in collaboration with Amref. Amref has been a facilitator for this project, starting from design. And USA brought this local capacity building initiative. We really loved it. It's called co-creation. And this project has been designed together with local CSOs, civil society organizations, around 7 of them. And we have internationals, which are also providing technical assistance to the local CSOs, which are forefront implementers for the project. But mainly though, youth participated from the different walks of life, starting from the co-creation process, the design process. And of course, we do also involve government stakeholders. As you may know, this project ranges in terms of intervention through different thematic areas. But as its name indicates, it's an integrated project. And we provide health service for young people, specifically focusing on sexual reproductive health services in multiple service outlets. Unlike the previous didactic approach, Kefeta is unique because we do go straight to the youth or to the places where we find young people. It could be young people out of work, young people within the industries and working as daily labor workers. We go and provide them health services, sexual reproductive health. For out of school youth, we do provide them basic education, like they will be able to read and write in less than 3 to 6 months. And they will be able to have, for example, bank accounts, start using mobiles and opening, different services that need reading and writing. And that excites me on a daily basis, to be honest. When I wake up every morning, I feel like I'm, trying to put something positive towards these young people who have not been able to read and write, but due to Kefeta, they are now able to read and write. We work with private sector, and Kefeta is unique in a sense as well by bringing private sector into play. Starting from design, we have 4 private sector partners helping us in evidence generation, building local capacity, especially for our CSOs, and also helping us, promote what we do through communication and mobilization. And of course, Johns Hopkins University is part of our consortium, helping a lot in terms of bringing mindset shift among young people. But the main objective of the project is to reach 2 million young people in 18 cities in Ethiopia. that are highly densely populated by youth, according to data from the Demographic Health Survey. These are the 18 cities that we have a huge bulge for young people. And of course, not only demography, but also the social, economical, and the health problems among our partners. So we call them partners, our youth, but our beneficiaries and target population is very high. And depending on how the formative assessment informs our intervention, we try to establish mainly a platform for young people that brings them together and practice, for example, democracy, practice access to service, practice different social issue or advocacy issue identifications. They also get different technical supports and financial, educational, economic empowerment supports in these coalitions that we establish among themselves, and they will be able to discharge now back to their community or back to their colleagues. So our first main objective is creating that democratic civic platform, which we call it youth coalitions. So far, we have established 19 youth coalitions in the 18 cities. Because Addis Ababa is big, we added one more coalition, and we have got close to 60,000 members and 1,400 different interest groups. These interest groups are very diverse. It also includes young women clubs, for example, girls clubs, anti-AIDS clubs, youth economic associations, nurse associations, youth with disabilities associations. So it's like a diverse group of young people coming together to establish these coalitions so that they will be able to advocate for their rights and access to different services. So that's our main objective. But the second one is to create access to finance to young people. That's the main barrier for youth in Ethiopia in terms of going to the path of formal employment or entrepreneurship track. The access to finance and the skills support are very critical. So closely working with private sector, public sector, we are providing 6 basic foundational skills, including entrepreneurship skills, financial literacy, employability skills, business development support, and of course, not only providing them skills, but also supporting them to link to industries, to the private sector. By our university industry linkage, we also target higher education institutions. A total of 20 have started this work, and we do provide career center support where young people at a graduating class or year 1 or year 2 of their higher education study to come and learn about career advancement. For example, how to write CV, how to do good interviewing skills, and how to become more employable in the marketplace. So we follow data, the assessment that we have done, and then we inform our programming to make sure that young people have access to finance, are aware of employability opportunities, but also have the skills that are relevant to make them get employment. The third main objective that this project is focusing on is providing essential services, specifically focusing on sexual reproductive health and family planning. We do have in 1 year close to 86 service delivery outlets. This ranges in every city around 5 thematic areas. We are in industry parks, we are in higher education institutions, we are in health facilities, we are in youth hubs outside in the community, where young people come together to do a lot of daily activities, including entertainment, library, education. So we incorporate our sexual reproductive health service and other youth-friendly services into those kinds of settings. But recently, as you all know, there was this conflict in the northern part, and young people have been significantly affected, and most of them have been displaced. So we had to also come up with innovative ways to providing services in those internally displaced settings, people's settings. And we were able to reach more than 37,000 young people through our sexual reproductive health service and of course, sexual gender-based violence services, including mental health, trauma counseling, and psychosocial support. So that third component for us is really, really essential. And we are currently building, rebuilding and remodeling youth hubs in 17 cities. And we welcome any kind of support from this team, be it in kind, technical, or even, forwarding insights that are working in the other part of the world. We want to adopt and, learn. But the key for the project is engaging young people in the design, in the implementation, and of course, monitoring and evaluation. As we speak, for example, out of the 86 service delivery facilities, we have more than 53 health professionals that are providing service through internship. Literally, you can call it for free. And we have more than 28 out of school education facilitators. We call them functional adult literacy facilitators. And we do provide them only transport refunds, but they are really bringing a remarkable change in the lives of young people who are passing through a lot of challenges on a daily basis. Our achievement so far has been significant. If I mention just one or two numbers, for example, in terms of sexual reproductive health reach, we have provided service for over 162,000 so far in 1 year, and we want to bump up this number. In Ethiopia, over 3/4 of the population is below 30 years old, and our goal is to reach 1 million at least over the life of the program through our sexual reproductive health services, and over 600,000 through our skills trainings. And we wanted also to create up to 8,000 jobs, formal employment and informal employment. So it's a really exciting, unique project ranging from one sector to another, with a lot of partnership and collaboration, including private sector, public, international NGO, local NGO, coming together with one goal and objective of changing the lives of young people.
Thank you so much for that broad overview. I want to get on to Tsion so she can talk a little bit about what are the barriers for young people to receive economic empowerment in Ethiopia. So please, Tsion, give us a little background on that and the challenges folks are facing.
Sure. Thanks, Bob. First, good morning to everyone. Thank you guys so much for joining us. It's a pleasure and honor to be here and to speak to you about Kefeta, a project that we're all clearly very passionate about. So to talk a little bit about economic empowerment and some of the barriers, I think I'd say one of the major barriers that youth are facing here is access to finance. I think we kind of touched on it already a little bit. So, even if we're thinking of someone who's trying to start their own business or for whatever purpose they need those funds, to get a loan, it's really tough here. So you need to have something to put as collateral, right? So whether it's your vehicle or what have you. And so often what we see is that people don't have the funds to even have something to hold as collateral to be able to get a loan. So that's a really major barrier. In addition to that, I think financial literacy is also a major barrier. And I would say even not just Ethiopia, but even internationally, it's not something that we're taught or encouraged to know a lot about from a young age. So when you're not understanding, even if I wanted to get a loan, where do I even start? Who do I need to talk to? How do I get to that process? That's a really major barrier. So that's something else that we're also working on, as Chale kind of mentioned briefly in his section earlier. So now when I think of also traditional systems of saving or raising funds, like what we call incubation here. So essentially it's maybe your network, it could be a group of friends or somebody in your network in any case. And so you come together and then everybody puts up money and then everyone takes turns to take their claim, I suppose, of that money whenever they need it. Yeah. So the problem that we see oftentimes with things like or systems like this that are communal is that we don't take into consideration things like interest, so you're not actually making any money with what you're saving. It doesn't take into consideration inflation or any market fluctuation. So if you're getting that money from the pot a little bit later on in the rotation, if you will, then you're missing out on a lot, and you actually don't end up getting a lot of the benefits that somebody else would at the beginning. So when we talk about economic empowerment, and especially for women and young girls in our communities, this is something like access to finance, or having financial, or being financially literate, I should say, is really important in being independent in your own lives, having decision-making power, and being able to own your own decisions and know what you're doing with your money as well. So in Kefeta, one of the ways that we're trying to address economic empowerment and increase that for women and young girls especially is through our Youth Empowerment Fund. And as Bob mentioned, we have Rahel here as our head of our YEF. So that's just one of the ways that we're trying to address economic empowerment. Thanks, Bob. Back over to you.
Thanks, Tsion. Great, very personal and direct how it's facing young people on the ground. And now Rahel will give us more of the bigger picture of what that youth empowerment is, the different aspects of it. And I think this is really exciting, what has been going on, what they're trying to do, and the progress they've made of setting up all the different instruments in 1 year is pretty incredible. Rahel, take it away.
Sure. Thank you, Bob. And hi, everybody, and thank you again. Well, as my colleagues have mentioned, the youth have a very hard time accessing finance in Ethiopia. So one of the interventions Kefeta started as the Youth Empowerment Fund. One service the Youth Empowerment Fund provides is establishment of SACCOs. SACCOs are savings and credit cooperative organizations. Just like Tsion mentioned, it's like the UCO, but with interest and very much highly regulated banking and a lower banking system. So the SACCO provides a level of service that the youth doesn't get in the Ethiopian financial system. So first, we have to give trainings of financial literacy, entrepreneurship trainings, pretty much to give the importance, emphasize the importance of money management and savings to the youth. And then they joined us, they joined the membership, they have to contribute to the membership and have to save 4 months consecutively to be eligible for a loan. This is to ensure the sustainability of the organization. The youth SACCO has also led by several governing rules, and the Ethiopia government has regulation on the SACCOs. At least half of the members have to be women and marginalized youth. We believe having women, 50% of the women being a member puts emphasize on the economy of the Ethiopia economy. By 2026, we believe we can have 150,000 members in this SACCO. This is one service area the Youth Empowerment Fund gives. Another one is what we call the seed grant or the remodeling grant. This fund goes to remodeling of the youth centers and the career centers. It also revamps the youth-friendly service corners and health centers and industrial parks. Industrial parks are like the factories in the US and UK. We're trying to bring the services to the youth where they work. So we believe that's going to be high impact. The third and the last service we give through the Youth Empowerment Fund is community grants or the social grants. This community grant, we give it to the youth. They have to go to their community, find a problem and come up with an innovative solution. They have to work with their community with this innovative solution, raise matching grants, matching to the grants we're going to provide them through the community. So just to give you an example, let's say the community and the youth decides the priority is to build a toilet in an elementary school. So they have to work together with the community. The community provides maybe labor, water, sand, and the grant we give to this youth provides to buy other materials for the toilet, and then the toilet is built. The elementary toilet is built, but this will create a good relationship with the committee and the youth. And that's the major objective of this social or community grant. Bob, over to you.
Thanks, Rahel. I just have a quick follow-up question. As you were talking about the SACCOs,
Sure.
I know there's been barriers to a lot of other SACCOs that have tried to start up. How has Kefeta helped these SACCOs and kind of to make sure that they succeed? If you could go into a little bit about that, because it's pretty amazing with young people trying to say start a SACCO, and how is Kefeta helping them out?
Oh, sure. SACCOs take a long time to flourish and be profitable. And the main reason is operation cost. They need to pay for the operation cost. Let's say this 3 of us start a SACCO and start saving. We have to pay for operation costs, for our computer, for HR, for everything. So to make money, it takes a long time. And one of the biggest costs that SACCO incurs is technology. And technology is very, very important for SACCO to flourish. And it's very difficult to cover the cost. So it takes most successful SACCOs, it takes them a long time to even start flourishing. That's where the Youth Empowerment Fund comes in. We cover these costs. So it cuts all this lag of time, and the youth can start making money. So we cover the rent, every operation cost, and the technology through the Youth Empowerment Fund.
Thanks, Rahel. One more question. So who makes the decisions on the loans, and where does the profits, when they start making profits of the SACCO, how does that work and where does it go?
SACCO is, I'm sorry, I should have told you, it's owned and led and managed by the youth or by the members. So before they start, there's a bylaw they have to follow. How much interest they're going to charge. It's all agreed by the group of youth or the members who have started the SACCO. Let's say they want to change the interest rate of the loan to make it higher so they can make more money. They have to call emergency meeting or a general meeting and then agree with it. So 2/3 of the members have to agree with every change. So it's owned and it's going to be managed by the members.
Thank you so much.
Bob, can I just have a quick question for Rahel? So first of all, it was wonderful. We had a bunch of US board members go, and Rahel took us around and we saw amazing Kefeta programs where the youth centers, the SACCOs, the youth leading them. But one thing to make aware for people on the call is the interest rates the SACCOs are charging is really expands access to credit, right? Versus what banks are charging. So especially for women, marginalized populations, can you just give an example of what the SACCOs are charging versus what people would get a loan at if they had to go to a traditional bank with, not great credit or not a strong credit record?
Thank you. Very good question. We charge 12% for a member to access a loan versus the bank charges 16%.
Sometimes 18.
Sometimes 18 and need a collateral.
Yeah.
That's the biggest, like Tsion mentioned, that's the biggest barrier. So for women and marginalized youth, we charge a quarter bps lower than the members' rate. And again, this can be changed. They can lower it or make it higher, but it's up to the members.
Thank you.
So, Rob, the other unique aspect of our SACCO is we do provide continuous technical support. We do partner with private banks, and for example, we have secured the financial technology from a well-known local private bank, Awash Bank. It's a huge bank. And then the unique aspect again is there is no need for young people to bring collateral on board. As far as they have 3 or 4 friends, they can warrant the friends' saving, and then they take turns to get loans and start business of their interest. And it's not that we only give them loans, but we do support them through our business development skills trainings, entrepreneurship trainings. Today, I signed agreement to help incubation for young business ideas for 86 of them. So with an incubator through IYF support. So this is really a multi-layer support that we provide for young people, and it's unique. They cannot get it apart from Kefeta.
Yeah.
Let's talk to someone who has actually a bank account at Asako. Tsion, do you want to talk about your experience?
Yeah, for sure. So I recently joined Sako. I bought my share. I put in my 3 months saving and got my book and everything. So before I started the process, though, I met with a Sako officer. So as Rahel mentioned, they're well-versed, well-trained in finances, financial literacy, and the Sako as well to be able to respond to all of the questions. So I met with an individual named Chalachew, and he answered all of my questions, which were very many, and explained to me all of the details and what's expected of me, what are the benefits that I can get, and what the entire process would look like. So as Charlie mentioned as well, having that technical support is, for me especially, I consider myself to be financially illiterate. So it's very, very nice and important for me to have somebody who can give me all of that information and then have the ongoing support. So for example, if you guys are familiar with Telegram, it's kind of like WhatsApp. There are Telegram channels there for the Sako group. So any important updates are posted there. As Rahel mentioned, if there's any meetings that are called, they would be there. So I have all of the information. It is in a transparent way. And I find that that's really important. So, when we think of big major financial institutions or banks, there's always a lot of fine print and little details here and there. And if you're not very financially literate or savvy, then it's really easy to get caught up in some of those details and maybe get lost somewhere in the process. So having that knowledge and access to the support helps to increase empowerment, helps to increase ownership, and then also helps me to know, like, what am I doing with my money? Where is it going? What is it doing for me? How is it growing, etc. So having all of that, it makes me feel more confident about my money. So that's really great. So the first thing that pushed me initially to even get involved into Sako was because I really wanted something to invest in. I wanted something to do with my money rather than just having it sitting in a regular, checking account that makes a penny a month or something. So I got involved, but then more than that, what I saw through the process is that I really got to invest in something that I believe in. I can see it, it's transparent. The Sako offices are open, and you can see the Sako leaders who are youth, as Rahel mentioned, working. It's openly accessible to youth, so you can go and take a look at what's going on there. And it's something that I also see growing in the future. So it's something that I'm really personally excited to be a part of. And then when I think of beyond just myself as an individual, for my community or my peers and other youth around me, what I envision is, or what I see happening even tangibly, is youth are having to come together and understand each other, work together, learn how to communicate really effectively, efficiently, respectfully, in order to work together. And it's not just to establish the Sako, but in order to actually grow it into what we hope to see, and to maintain it will take a lot of work from the youth. And so this is such an empowering opportunity that I see for young people to have something that they own, that they started, and they can grow into something that's essentially like limitless, right? As much as whatever they put into it will get out of it. So I think that's really something special to see. Having that trust, and especially, even Chani was mentioned in our current context of conflict, and there's a lot of different things going on. Part of what we're trying to do as Kefeta is bring people together, from a positive angle, and I really think that this is part of that can help build those relationships and establish that trust.
Thank you so much. I have another question for you. We've been talking about youth hubs or youth centers. Can you talk a little bit about why they're so important, what happens there, and kind of, I always look at them as the center of where all the integration happens.
Yeah, thanks, Bob. Our youth centers, in a very rudimentary way, is just a place where youth can come together and receive the different free services that we offer as Kefeta, as a project. So for example, Chadi also mentioned this earlier, we have like counseling We have like a little clinic with trained health service providers. And when I say trained, beyond their like normal formative training as a health practitioner, we also train them in how to give youth-friendly health services. So they're specifically geared towards youth. So there's that, again, especially in sexual and reproductive health. We also offer things like there's a digital library there. There's also income generating activities. So for example, our youth who are working in these youth hubs, there could be a cafeteria or a garden from which they grow vegetables and then sell that. So that income generating activity, one, is creating employment for these youth, but beyond that is also helping to maintain and sustain the youth center as well, as it is. In addition to that, we have our youth coalitions that we mentioned earlier. They also have their offices in there, so they work out of there. And then we also provide our trainings. So we have training rooms, for example, could be life skills or career services. And then we also provide referral services to our different service outlets or other specialized health facilities, for example. So these centers, they already existed. They were built by the Ethiopian government previously. So what we've done is we've gone in and remodeled, redesigned, renovated them in order to make them more attractive, more youth-friendly, and then also have a more comprehensive package that youth can come and get all of these different services in this one place. Sorry. So, as Charlie also mentioned from the beginning, this project is really youth-owned, it's youth-led. So we had a team of, I think it was about 18 youth who came together, and we were trained on what's called a human-centered design approach. So you're really centering your youth and who's going to come and use that space when they were designing it. So what should we place here? What should be there? What should this look like? All of that. So we had engineers, we had architects that were part of these teams, and they really came together and they really made that happen for us. And, as we have repeatedly said, and I think we'll continue to say in this call, is that Kefeta is one of the big cornerstones of Kefeta is that it is a youth-led, youth-owned program or project. So that was a really big part of it for our redesign. So these centers are ultimately meant to be this safe space for youth to come together, to engage with each other, to network, to meet new people, to learn, expand their skill set through the different trainings that we offer, to come relax, to play, be creative, be themselves, and then have this space that's encouraging positive changes. So for example, like some of our biggest or what we hope to accomplish anyways, and we are, I think, is for our out of school youth, for example, it's a place that's really a safe place that gives them that opportunity to push them towards something where they're building their skill set, like Charlie said, whether you're learning to read and write, or having your business skills enhanced for you to change your own life in a better and more positive way. And then the one thing I'll also add, is that we also, within our targets of having, people who are living with disabilities or who are typically marginalized, including women and young girls, we try to make it as well so it's extremely inclusive. We really take gender equality and social inclusion very seriously and have it mainstreamed throughout our project. And that also includes in the hubs, making sure that they're accessible for everybody. And then, again, within the context of the war and the conflict, having space for GBV survivors even to come and have that counseling spaces and things of that nature. I think I could go on forever about the hub, so I think this should suffice for now. Bob, back over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. That was a great answer. Kelly, one more thing is, you talked about a lot of the successes, just already the number that you've reached, the number of SACOs that have opened. Have you missed any of the successes? I think you guys have done a great job. So if there's a couple more, and then if you could maybe follow that up on how people can help and how they can get involved.
Great. Thank you, Bob. Maybe I can build on some of the numbers that I have been throwing earlier. I think one of the key achievements for me, I have passed through this industry for long now. I've been working as an officer in a health facility. I worked in the aid. I was outside in Zambia working for adolescent girls program. I also worked on HIV/AIDS programs. What is really special for me here is the ownership and the leadership of Kefeta by the youth. So we are successful in establishing 19 coalitions, and during our national festival this last 2 weeks now, established a national coalition, which is civic, apolitical, youth-led, independent, non-religious platform that's legally registered and led by the youth. So for me, that one is a big success because we are bringing this platform for young people in Ethiopia, which has never been there. If there was a youth group, either it's politically affiliated or, with some sort of interest or inclination. But our Kefeta Youth Coalition, I think, as Tsion mentioned, is going to be a platform that will sustain and registered in civil society agency as a civil society organization. So youth will have that power. So we have established 19 of them. We have over 60,000 members. That's a huge accomplishment in 1 year. The second major achievement, parallel to our objectives, is the establishment of 9 SACCOs that Rahel has been mentioning. And of course, the membership and the shares sale is growing with speed. And we have also secured financial technology for the same SACCO. For me, other SACCOs in Ethiopia took 10 years. Rahel was not mentioning that. 10 years to mature. We matured in 1 year, to be honest with you. Even in Kenya, we saw Police SACCO, Amref SACCO, other SACCOs, and we learned that it was not easy. So for me, that's a big achievement as well. We have provided training for out-of-school youth on basic numeracy and literacy, literally reading and writing. In 3 months, level 1, 6 months, level 2. We trained over 18,000. And I'm so happy when I go to the field and see young women with children going to school, and you ask them, and they tell you, you made me write my name. Now I can take my son to school, because in the past, he would be shy to go with me because I was unable to read and write. And then she would tell you she has now a stronger negotiation skill because she's able to write her name, to have a bank account, and to use mobile phone because she's now taught and educated. And it means a lot for me on a daily basis. So we did achieve that. We have provided over 162,000 young people with comprehensive sexual reproductive health services, including the different family planning options, STI screening, treatment, and of course, post-GBV care, especially on areas where there was conflict. Thousands, 10,000s of young people fled, and they have been moved forcefully. They have been raped, and they lost it. Literally, when you stand in front of them and you just provide that empathy for them, it means a lot. Like if you are not in those places, in those IDP sites, you may not be able to understand. I had times I cried, honestly, when I went to the site, and I feel proud. We provided over 6,000 youth with comprehensive emergency supplies, SRH services, including SGBV support. So that was an achievement in a year. And of course, we also have functional 86 sites in these 17 cities right now, providing service. For example, if I mention one of the biggest places that we have huge young people is an industry park, Bole Lerni, here in Addis. We have over 20,000 youth working as daily laborers there, most of them illiterate or not completing their even elementary school, and 90% of them are women. So we are able to provide sexual reproductive health service by establishing our youth-friendly service corner in there through our remodeling exercise. Out of our 86 service delivery points, we remodeled 36 right now as we speak, 1 year, 4 months. And we are very much grateful because let me explain this way. In Ethiopia, we have over 3,100 youth centers structurally built by government, but 67% of them are not fully functional. Others are on the deterioration phase. Others are locked. Some of them are being used for storage. Some of them are being used like IDP sites where youth migrating or other people migrating from other places are sitting. So we are remodeling those and changing them to be more attractive. And as Tsion said, a safe space to use, providing comprehensive services ranging from library, ICT, cafeteria, sport corners, even urban agriculture corners. So we are really proud that we are doing this. And we have been able to also provide 5 social grants that Rahel has been highlighting. And this year we are providing 16 of them. It means a lot for us because in Ethiopia, young people are considered as liabilities, not as assets. So we are disproving that narrative by giving them technical support, a small fund of not more than $5,000, and they are matching it from the community to address their community issues. Some of them are establishing, some children's orphans support groups, and they are providing that support, buying books and, bags for young people to go back to school. So it's really a good project in that sense.
Thank you.
Thank
you. Would you mind, is there any, you look at the program now overall, and because people are here to help and support, are there certain things that there are gaps that really would help the youth centers be stronger, that would really bring, enhance them?
Great.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is it me or Tsion? I was wondering. It's
Tsion.
me.
And you can add in after.
Okay, thank you. I'll be very brief on this and leave it to Tsion because I want, I think, the audience to hear it from a young person than an old one. Yes, we really want to reach many and definitely need any kind of support, as I stated earlier, to do more remodeling of the youth centers, to do more establishment of the SACCOs. To remodel this means a lot in terms of, for example, we are placing interns and we pay them $100 or $150 and they serve for 1 month, medical doctors, nurses. So those kinds of support. We provide a lot of materials ranging from computers, books, shelves, refrigerators, and some basic diagnosis tools. And of course, we also do some investment in terms of constructing or renovation of these centers. We call them service delivery points, but mostly the youth hubs outside of the health facility system. It would be really remarkable to get in-kind, in-cash resources to supplement this process. Yes, we are also engaging young people in the resources mobilization, but more so in service uptake and mobilizing other young people to come and get these integrated services in these service delivery outlets. Maybe Tsion could add more of the items that are more relevant in the youth centers, the health facilities and the university career centers from a youth perspective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think what Charlie mentioned is basically covers most of it. I think in our in the centers for the health corner, a lot of medical equipment. I mean, I don't know if you want me to list out a bunch of medical equipment. Some right. Yeah, but I think also to add on to what Charlie said, when we're redesigning these hubs, one of our focus is to make sure that they're inclusive. So that can mean for disability or for gender. So we don't necessarily have a budget that's just for disability inclusion, right? So it's supposed to be mainstreamed throughout everything else that we do. So sometimes having in-kind support or technical assistance even, or financial, of course, I think is really, really helpful for that, since we can't specifically allocate budget just for adding a ramp or something like that, for example, instead of stairs, right? So I think if I had to add something, it would be that, and then maybe something around SACCO. If you want to add.
And then we'll about a minute, and then we'll open it up for questions.
Sure. For SACCOs, there are some marginalized youth that cannot afford the entrance fee, so that would be a very small amount. It would be nice to help those people just to start, and then they will keep on saving and be empowered financially. And also, building the office rental is becoming so high. So if we find the budget to build their office, then they'll be sustainable forever. And that's about it.
So what is the entrance fee? What is that typically?
Oh, okay. They have to buy 4 shares of 250 birr per share. It's 1,000 birr, which is about $10.
That's
$20.
$20, and a registration fee is 200 birr, which is $2. So they have to come up with $25 from the get-go.
Yeah, but on a monthly basis, they're supposed to save 300.
300 birr, which is $3.
Okay.
But usually what takes a big lift is the first share buying, right? For young people. Yeah.
I will pass it over. Jenny will open up the for questions.
Thank you, Bob.
Yes, I think actually Emily will be fielding the questions.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. Thank you all so much. So we just had the first question is very quick, I think, but so which department at Johns Hopkins University are you working with this program?
It's Center for CCP,
Yes.
JHU CCP. It's the Center for Communications.
Yes, correct.
Hmm.
They have been coming to the office here, so we are working as consortium members, and they do lead the behavior change strategy, the social mobilization strategy, and they do mainstream media, below the line interventions, and help us zoom into different thematic areas ranging from sexual reproductive health, substance abuse, financial literacy, you name it. A lot of the trainings that we do, we back them up with the social behavior change communication piece. We wanted to make sure there is a mindset shift in all what we do. Increasing access to the essential services is also one of the basic tasks that Johns Hopkins University Center for Communication is helping us on.
Perfect. So the next question is about the SACOs, and including the grants from the Youth Economic Fund. So have there been any defaulters, and how many payments contributions have been made? So I know you did speak about there's a lot of members, but in terms of defaulters or anything like that, we would love to hear how we're dealing with that.
Sure. We just started provision of loans because was just being here only a year and a half, and some of the SACOs just got established maybe 8 months ago, and they have to be consecutive 4-month savings. So we just started giving out loans. On defaulters, in Ethiopia, we have researched, and it's almost zero defaulters in SACO. And the funny thing is, even in the very successful SACO, I was talking to them last week on the youth festival, 50%, more than 50% of the loan seekers are women, and literally 0% of defaulting from the women borrowers. And historically, that's what's happening in Ethiopia. So we are not worried about that. There are collaterals of peer-to-peer collateral. So so far we're good. There's no defaulter.
And how many payments?
Oh, payment and contributions.
1.6 million.
Yeah, about 1.6 million Ethiopian birr is the capital, and we have about 1,500 members already.
So cool. Thanks so much, Rahel. So another question we had just comes from a board member from the US. So after this first 14 months, are there any learnings and aspirations that you all as the Kefeta team and the youth want to implement beyond what you have, or what our plans are for the future?
Sure. I think there is a huge learning every day. We may, think at our office level that whatever program service that we design is appropriate for use. But when we go to the cities and the sites and, start talking to the youth coalitions, the members, then they would tell you, no, this is how we want it. This is what we want. This is where we want the service. So one thing unique about Kefeta is it's dynamic, and every team member of mine here is open-minded. So we have been continuously learning. We did 2 formative assessments, and we have now finished the baseline in collaboration with USAID. So all that information is giving us a lot of insight, new ideas, new ways of implementing. For example, if I mention at the design phase, mental health has not been part of this project, but when the conflict pops up, it affected 6 to 4 of our cities out of the 18. Right now, as I speak, in Mekelle, where we do not have intervention last year, we are doing formative assessment, post-conflict assessment, to understand what is the context in there. What do the youth need really right now after that devastating conflict and crisis? So we inform our implementations, we shape our services depending on the needs, the situation, and the available resources. So yes, there is a huge learning, and we are happy to share some of these kinds of evidences going forward, Emily.
Perfect. And I have no doubt that you will be able to do everything you aspire to. So far, we've gotten so much done. And so in that way, I know Camilla from the CEO of the UK office was asking if we can give more of a sense of just the scale of this program, how big it is. I know that you said so far we've established, renovated 19 centers. We have the SACOs, and I know that the goal of the program of Kefeta is to reach 2 million youth across the country. But just for the people on the call, can you give a better sense of just the scale of this program, how big it is, and how many regions we're reaching across Ethiopia?
Sure, maybe I can take this one.
Yeah.
Thank you, Emily. I think we are in almost all the regions in Ethiopia. And the beauty, again, is Amref proposed 2 additional regions that are mostly left out in USAID fundings. And this was highly credited by the regions and the youth from those regions. That is Afar and Gambela, and of course, Asosa and Jijiga. If you take these Somali, Gambela, Afar, these are, in normal terms in Ethiopia, they call them developing regions. Very unfortunate, but we have young people there seeking the same service as young ones in Addis, for example. So Amref proposed those optional cities, and it has been accepted by USAID. So we are also in those regions providing equal and same service, integrated service, like the ones in Amhara, Oromia, Tigray, and name it, in the southern nations and nationalities. So our scope is literally geographically in almost all regions, but 18 cities, bigger cities, where we have a huge influx of young people with different social problems. And in terms of our target, as I highlighted earlier, we are aiming to provide service, multiple layer of services for 2 million young people over 5 years. And we also wanted to bring like 8,000 jobs. So far, we have reached close to 1,800 in 1 year plus. For us, it's a good journey. And since we are establishing and strengthening our partnership with private sector, I presume the numbers will grow exponentially. And as we mature as a program, we will reach more people. You know, the level of effort that we have, the learning that we have, and the anxiousness among the youth and the different stakeholders is always energy for us. And we don't mind hitting 3 million, 4 million. I mean, as we speak, for example, in our behavior change interventions, we have already hit 1.1 million reach in our messaging, in our promotion work. We have done a reach recall survey last quarter, and the numbers are showing really positive reward. People are really learning and getting services in different ways. In terms of skills also, we want to provide trainings, structured ones, Kefeta designed, a standard and minimum package of services for 600,000 youth in 6 of the skill sets, including entrepreneurship, life skill, financial literacy, digital skills, business development skills, and entrepreneurship skills. So apart from this, we are also aiming to reach close to 200,000 young people who are outside of school. We want to teach them about how to read, how to write, and of course, do basic mathematics so that they improve their livelihood afterwards. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much, Charlie. So the last question I think we'll be able to get to today is just from someone in the chat, Jamal, who it sounds like you are a recipient of our Kefeta program, but he was just wondering, the last question he had was, so along with all these trainings and education, everything you were just mentioning, will there also be a focus on how youth from Ethiopia who have the ambition to seek education outside of Ethiopia, is that also something in terms of training and support that this program will be providing?
Unfortunately, we do not have that in our package, the international scholarship opportunity or probably exchange, but we have created a digital space as one of the avenues of service. As I said earlier, we have 5 service delivery points: industry park, universities, health facilities, youth centers, and IDP sites. Now we have added a 6th one, the virtual space. We did study and we found out 98% of our youth in these cities use smartphones. So what we do in that digital space, which we launched it 2 weeks ago, is we provide opportunities. We search for those relevant opportunities, including scholarship, internship, apprenticeship, job. We upload them in this platform and they access them. And then we do also provide short courses and short videos that are very educative and interactive for the youth. But we do have internship opportunities and fellowship opportunities. Last year, we did 2 fellowships. One, we selected 1 girl, 1 boy from each city. We sent them
Charlie,
to
I'm
Kenya.
sorry to interrupt, but we're at time, and I want to make sure that we can tell folks how they can help. So I think there was something put in the chat. If you want to support the project, there's a link to support it in the US, and there's also a link to support it in the UK. Sorry to interrupt you, but I think it's important that folks know that they can help. Jenny, you want to wrap it up? Is there anything?
Yeah, I was just going to say thank you, Bob, for moderating, and to our wonderful panel, Tsion, Rahel, and Charlie. I think this conversation could have kept going. You guys have provided us with a lot of insight on your work. It's incredibly powerful. To the supporters on the call, please visit. There's a US link and a UK link posted for you and your. If you are interested in supporting, we would love to tell you more. If you have more questions, please feel free to email us. And have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so very much. This was excellent. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Charlie, Tsion, and Rahel. And Charlie, we'll get actually the end of your question. We will make sure we get that and we can send it out to everyone.
Great.
Okay.
We'll be happy to provide more details.
Awesome.
Great.
Thanks, everyone.
For your day.
Thanks a lot.